dear High Existence family. I hope you've been doing very beautifully. I've got a really exciting conversation for you with Koen and Sebastian of Portier Supplies. They're an initiative trying to reinvigorate the sacredness and ritual aspects of intentional ceremonial psychedelic experiences for those willing and interested to continue exploring and continue growing. They've created something really just absolutely beautiful, both in their product, the portal box, and in their community that's forming around it. And I'm sincerely excited to be introducing them here. They have a depth of thought and a level of care that really shines through in the work that they're doing. We cover personal experiences, thoughts on the psychedelic space at large, and really an overview of what they're aiming to do and what they want to build this into. And just for your reference, the first voice you'll hear here is Koen, and the second voice is Sebastian. Together, they make the team behind Portier Supplies. So please enjoy this beautiful exploration into serious psychonautic practice with the minds behind Portier Supplies. So welcome back, everybody. Here with Sebastian and Koen, and I am super excited for this one. Right when I saw the public announcement of their first product, the Portal Box, I was immediately hooked. It filled this void in the space that I think has existed for far too long, and it's really beautiful to see people taking a serious and sacred approach to this work. So a huge shout out to you guys, and thank you so much for being here.
Amazing.
Thank you for having us. Really excited.
Yeah, and so I want to lead up to really exploring the Portal Box, but I'd love to get just a kind of background and intro from you guys. Like, what was life like leading up to this? It's both personal life and I guess experiences with personal psychedelic use overall. So whoever wants to take that one can jump right in.
Yeah, I guess we all start to explore with psychedelics in your late teens, right? When you do your first mushroom dose or take salvia. Right? I think that's where the magic happened for us both.
No, with salvia.
And no, salvia maybe, but a lot of people in the States, they experiment with certain psychedelics. A little bit different from ours, but usually here it starts with mushroom trip. And we see that also in the community we have, that a lot of people in their late teens, early 20s, they experiment with mushrooms. And then, it's a huge eye-opener. And I think that's also how it was for us. Our main interest in life since that point has been psychedelics. But we've just never been able to do anything with that, professionally. Or at least that's what you think.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But until recently, when the world starts opening up a little bit towards the idea that psychedelics can be extremely healthy, so a long journey has been behind us
for me
up to this moment.
For me, it was really about the personal development first. I was really into personal development for like a long time already before I started doing psychedelics, and then suddenly experiencing this amazing tool, like, wow, this is really like skyrocketing everything I've done before, putting all of these concepts into reality, and it's really started to value this tool. But I never really did something with psychedelics professionally. I started engineering first, and I started business, but then I did an internship in Ecuador, and I was actually living and working with an indigenous tribe in the Amazon and drinking ayahuasca with them. And that was really like a turning point where it's like, wow, like the relation they have down there to like dealing with medicine, and the sacred aspect was really like, that was really like a shifting moment. It's like, what the fuck did I do like in my previous plans? And just what I want to do with my life kind of shifted a bit. And then coming back and then like talking with Koen, we both had the same kind of like urge to
do something with this.
Yeah.
So I've been basically involved with media, and I believe the most important and interesting fields within the coming decades will be the internet technologies and psychedelic technologies. so to say. And I've also always been interested in both. The only way to make money, though, in the past has been like through the internet. So I was a graphic designer. I made some media and some apps. And my most interesting clients would be in the psychedelic space. So either they would be NGOs, like, you know, those working in the Amazon with indigenous communities, or they would be retreat centers working with psilocybin, like Synthesis Retreat, but also harm reduction here in Amsterdam, where we are based, that focuses a lot on, you know, drug abuse in the gay scene amongst prostitutes, but not necessarily on psychedelics. And I think there is a big hole in our education system and everywhere where you don't get taught these things, right? So we've always felt this urge to do something great with this field. And when we did a breathing session, a Wim Hof breathing session on after a workout, we're very much into vitality and goal setting, and, you know, just fitness, mental fitness and spiritual fitness and physical
fitness. I never heard this expression. Okay, like spiritual fitness. I'm doing some spiritual training.
Yeah, we did some spiritual training.
Spiritual fitness
on the lawn. And when we were done with this breathing session, I asked you, like, what do you really want to do in life? And we were like, psychedelic, like that's what we want to dive into.
Like a romantic moment.
And then you just have to, you know, have the balls to actually build something in this space, because it is a very gray area.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like talking about this with like, I mean, telling it to family, friends, it's like some of them really love it, but also some is like, oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah, you're in the psychedelic closet for sure.
Drug dealer? What exactly? I don't understand. Because these substances are still illegal, like most of the substances we're like talking about. And even though living in Amsterdam, which is quite a liberal place to be, you get a lot of weird looks when you talk.
Yes,
about what you're doing now.
There's not many. What we feel is that there's not a business in particular dealing with this. So you have some organizations dealing with this, and it's mostly focused on the medical aspects, right? Treatment with PTSDs, psychotherapy, right? For using mushrooms for depression, and all the study results are slowly coming out. But there's not really a business endeavor that really builds tools that are up to, you know, the standards that we would like it to be. There's nobody really jumping into this gap of people who are at home, psychonauts, really seriously exploring the reality around us. People are not necessarily sick, but people who do have open eyes, and they cannot share that with the people around them. Mostly, right? Family, friends, especially those in religious circles or conservative families, they have a hard time to talk about these topics. And then, you know, when you offer them a sacred space within their home, and you offer them a community of people who are all as excited as they are, then for them it's like, you know, they live in a world of blind people, and there's like a couple people who can see together, and they have this amazing box that they have in their houses now. So
which puts away shame, and this is something serious.
Serious.
This is nothing
it's
druggy.
Not,
this is something sacred.
It's not, you know, with doing it with the shabby tools, like, you know, the Bob Marley lighter you found somewhere, or the, you know, the crack pipe, or, you know, it's something like we say that we thought, you know, a DMT session should be like a Japanese tea ceremony, where everything is high end, proper, safe. You have everything ready, all the instructions you need. And we feel like psychedelics definitely deserve, you know, the highest standard possible. And we don't see that happening right now in this space, but we do see it in the medical area, psychotherapy, but just not for the psychonauts.
Yeah, there's so much good stuff here. And this is exactly why I wanted to bring you guys on, because it landed so immediately for me, which is there's a kind of coming of age moment that I think the psychedelic space is having right now. One of my old colleagues here actually called it being able to come out of the psychedelic closet, and actually really boldly say, like, no, I use these. They're very significant to me. I've benefited greatly from them. And actually just root down in that core confidence and be the example of like, no, there are ways to do this in deep integrity, with that level of actual reverence that the experience so often provides and almost asks of you in return. Because you spoke to the indigenous plant medicine traditions, in which the ritual and sacredness is already there because it never left, right? That's just a continuation of an ancient lineage. Whereas a lot of the Western cultural containers, like, we don't have that almost anywhere. You can even say, like, in organized religion, a lot of the sacredness has kind of eroded or faded from that. But particularly when you're just an individual or a small group trying to make something of this, like, you just have no support. You have no previous examples of this. And yeah, so it's this very potent, like, 1-2 combination of, no, I am taking this very seriously, and I'm going to try to give a gift to the space. And that, at least, is how the first your first foray with the portal box has really landed for me. So I wonder if you guys could just speak more to what it is you're actually making. It's still in the works, but it's a beautiful initiative.
Yeah. So what we're making is bigger than just a box. We call it the portal box for now. And what we want to do is raise the standards for the way psychedelics are used. And by doing that, raising the standards in the public eye. And what we start with is the box for DMT use. And we chose that substance specifically because it's quite a difficult substance to take. A lot of people do it wrong because we have the information spread across forums and a little bit of, dodgy websites. We're lucky to live in Amsterdam, so we have a bit better information, but still it's not up to snuff yet. So we try to make a box where you have the ideal set and setting for at-home use, right? So it kind of brings the knowledge from the old world, from the shamanic world, but it packs it in a more modern package. So you have your information inside the portal book regarding safe and responsible use. There's backgrounds on psychedelics. There's all these tips like, okay, how do you respectfully engage with psychedelics? How do you safely do it? And you have all the tools available. But the initiative that we do is called Portier. It's a bit bigger than that. The mission, this is just a start for us. The mission is to continuously raise it. And there's a bunch of ways to do it. And we've been fortunate enough to have been, when we posted it on Reddit, gone a little bit viral with it, so that so many psychonauts told us, like, all right, we want to be involved, we want to give you input for it, which led up to over 3,000 people giving input for this box. And most of those people are still, continuing with us via our mailing list or via our Discord community, and really being involved, not just for making a physical product, but also having a brand that allows them to communicate with like-minded people. So when they have their own spiritual path, their goals in life, whether it's healing, exploration, or just fun, they have the tools and the community to guide them with that, right?
Yeah, nicely explained.
I think that's it. Yeah, it's
so the portal box comes in like a nice wooden box. I think you didn't say this, but it's like a nice to look at wooden box with our logo and the DMT molecule engraved on it. So like it's a piece of, it bundles all the equipment you have, like the weight, like the lighters, like everything in the pipe, everything you need for the proper usage. But it also just looks amazing when you just have it standing in the corner. And
it's modular, so we tried to make it for DMT first, but everybody who uses DMT, usually, they use other psychedelics or plant medicine. So we made it modular, so if you don't need certain space, you can swap them, you can customize it completely. So even if you just use it for mushrooms or for anything else, you can use the box. It comes with a very precise milligram scale for safe use. yeah, there's basically everything you need outside of a shamanic guided session, right?
Yeah,
as safe as possible.
exactly. Yeah, it's supposed to be there to be like some sort of gap between you and like the hyperspace realms. And you know, something you come back, and that's what we actually heard from many, that like they wish for something that gives them a bit of more stability. You have this standing in front of you, and it's supposed to ground you to like build like the bridge, the gap between the two worlds.
And that's why we call ours Portier, which is the Dutch French word for the doorkeeper, right? To not guide people when they're inside the space, but to give them the right guidance before they go in and when they come back. So the portal book also doubles as a integration journal where they can write about their experiences. They get the opportunity to share their experiences within the community. We have a monthly fireside chat with the community. So it's this, it's bigger than just a physical thing. It's a reminder for yourself to nurture yourself, to take the time from Western, speed and hectic lifestyle in Western culture to, have a sacred space inside your house. It's a reminder to slow down, take the time for yourself, and work on your spiritual goals or personal growth.
Yeah, that's the core of our mission. Like using psychedelics also for like exploration and personal development and spiritual growth.
Exactly. And I like what you said, Eric, about that there's not much space for sacredness inside our houses right now, and we like to provide that within people's homes. I recently did a trip to Italy where I was in a silent retreat, and there was no internet. There was, it was way far up in the forest, in the mountains, and you could really sense that, we were not bombarded with, everything that is around us in this Western world, especially here in the city. And there I realized, real luxury isn't boats or going on jet skis or buying the latest iPhone. It's really this pure, it's something really pure, right? It's walking in nature in silence, really enjoying good, healthy food with your, the best people around you. That's luxury. And taking the moment, stillness, is a luxury. And we try to have this box as also a reminder, like, all right, there is this real luxury that's outside of your busy lifestyle. And usually psychedelics can teach you to take a moment to reflect on what's really valuable in life, what's really important, be it family, friends, or peace of mind, tranquility. So we try to insert that into people's houses to hopefully help people. Or people's lives. Right? Because psychedelics deserve a beautiful place in people's lives.
Yeah.
Not shoved somewhere in a closet.
Not in a plastic bag, not stored in a plastic bag.
And they shouldn't be hidden away somewhere.
Yeah, because this really does something to the substance as well. Like I really believe in like the energy, like where you harvest like your mushrooms, or where does the ayahuasca come from, or like the energy that's been like put on the psychedelic can, in my opinion, definitely determine the psychedelic experience as well. So like when your psychedelics are stored under the bed in like a plastic bag, in my opinion, I feel it's going to have like an impact on your trip experience.
Yeah, completely. And I think it's time for them to get out of their closet.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, like you spoke to, this is again, this stuff is so foundational for very good reason, right? You spoke to set and setting at the beginning, and in the preparation period leading up, particularly in the moments like right before, like going into an experience, those are critical moments. And if you're fumbling around through plastic bags, if you feel like you're actually doing this weird, like constrictive, shady thing, you carry that right into the experience with you. And there is this level of just raw acknowledgement of like, no, what I'm doing is actually beautiful. I'm actually trying to embrace life more, to come into like the fullness of reality, into a really deep, like sacred relationship with it. And having particularly when they are endogenous compounds, like things go into that. like they have a significant influence, and to have something that mirrors the beauty and importance of that is a great gift to the space. And I think the initial reception of what you're doing in the announcement like really mirrors that. The space was ready and willing, because I think there is a very beautiful and very important development underway around psychedelic medicine and psychedelic therapy coming into people who really need like trauma healing, overcoming mental health struggles. But that is still a far cry away from those who may have done some of the healing work, who actually want to use it for expansion and growth. That whole side of moving, of growing beyond baseline, right? Psychedelic therapy is in the space of essentially getting you back to baseline as a human. But there is a whole largely underserved world of, well, what if I want to use this to grow and really expand and really see what I'm capable of? There's largely nothing in that space right now. And again, I think the entire initiative you guys have put together is such a nice step in that direction.
Yeah, and you know, we've been doing this as humans for over centuries, and a lot of this wisdom has been forgotten. So it's nothing new, right? It's just something as of the last couple hundred years that we've forgotten, right? There have been boxes and tools carried with shamans. We can see their remains, that through archaeology now. This is not new. You know, expanding your mind and realizing what is really around us is nothing new.
Yeah, the definition of what is like a healthy person as well, it's such an absurd thing to, it might be like sky is the limit. Like I feel most of us are like sick, like also what's been described as healthy. I mean, there's just so much room to explore and to develop, and only limiting psychedelics for like the healing of trauma, which of course is a beautiful and amazing. Absolutely. But like we don't even know what's possible as a human species. Where can we go? Like what states of consciousness and what states of like pleasure we could potentially be in. So and that's the second part of our name. It's the Portier, the doorman, but it's at the frontier. Like, okay, what is possible as a human being? We're exploring the fringes of what is out there, and there shouldn't be anything wrong with that. Most of these substances are non-addictive, and they are not bad for the body. So this should be widely accepted, in my opinion. Even though we're also trying to not being too positive about it all the time, and just like not trying, like that's something I'm really trying to do on a personal level as well with my people in my surrounding, like because I tend to like be so excited about psychedelics, but then I also know it's not everyone's tool, and like when you do psychedelics, like not everyone should do psychedelics, and you should do it in like a very careful way, in like a very like well thought of way. So
exactly,
that's also something we want to put like really clearly, that this is not the thing to take lightly, but
no, psychedelics definitely carry risks with them. So it's a difficult space we're in. But it's time for it to come out of the closet and somehow be safely integrated. We don't have the exact answers on how this will be done, but this is, an initial step forward, and hopefully it'll be welcomed positively in this space. Because we see that the medical community is definitely ready, but if this space is ready, we'll see. We try, our audience definitely is very skeptical. If you put a project like this forward, it's definitely everybody's favorite topic to talk about. It's a precious little baby, psychedelics. It's a religious thing to many people. So we try to treat it with the utmost care as well, not to tread on anyone's feelings too much, because everybody uses psychedelics differently, but everybody's afraid that businesses will step in and mess it up. That the corporate world will completely mess things up, like over commercialize it. And us working in the space, it is a delicate thing. Like we have to tread carefully. And not to overstate like it's positive effects, but be really careful, focus on safety, respect high quality use, and B, that that endeavor that focuses also on, you know, being a business, but, you know, the mission is to raise psychedelic standards
And giving back to the community as well.
Yeah, we try to do our best in that aspect as well. So for every box, we plant one tree in a reforestation project, and a partial segment of the money goes to organizations that our community can vote on. So every year they get a chance to vote where our a share of our profits go to, and these are related to psychedelic science,
Like maps.
It's about
Indigenous
conservation, indigenous rights. In that space, people get to choose where parts of the profits come from, so that we create a ripple effect.
Yeah, beautifully said. Like there's something I think gets a little twisted in the public conversation here, which is a small group of people saying that they deeply appreciate something and that it's been important to them is not, it's not forcing it on anyone else. It's not saying this should be required, that you need to go do this or you're going to get kicked out of the group. It's actually just, and it's weird when it's received like that. Like, this is something that is something I wanted in my own life. It's something that was adding value to me, so I decided to make it. And people can immediately take that as you shoving it on them, but it's in no way doing that. Yes, I think you can make a strong case of the value and utility in these experiences for almost anyone, right? A lot of these experiences are deeply human experiences. You're confronting yourself, you're confronting your mortality, the nature of mind. Like, they are very human experiences. In that way, a lot of people can probably get something out of them, but particularly for the like seeding projects right here, like planting the seeds of something that could grow. This is just a community doing something for itself. And really, like, when it's met with significant resistance, I get a little wary of that, because it's not a commentary on absolutely anyone else. It's, look, I needed this in my life, right? Because there is this missing gap between the kind of festival recreational and the going to the jungles in the indigenous lineages. Like, there's something missing in that middle ground of, I'm actually trying to be intentional with this. I'm actually trying to take it very seriously and respect the power that it gives me and the power that it has. And I find it a little strange when I think well-intentioned initiatives like that are met with, at times, hostility, but often some level of resistance. Like, it's not a value judgment on anyone else. It's you scratching your own itch. This was something that I needed. And I get that little... There's also something I've appreciated about you guys. There's a craftsmanship, like, ethos coming through of just a really high-quality piece, really high-quality effort, really trying to do it justice to the people who have already been doing this, and actually just offer up something as a gift. Like, look, you don't have to do this, but it's here if you want it. And the fact that, again, there has been so little here if people did want it. There just hasn't been anything for people to go to. So I think it's, I'm really excited to see where all of this is going to go.
Yeah, and the thing why we're also doing that is because psychedelics give heavy experiences, right? People have life-changing experiences when they use these boxes. So every aspect has to be fine-tuned to that. You know, we try to make the paper, like, we had very white paper for your integration, and we found out, like, if you are post-trip, you don't want some super white glaring paper in your face. So you want it to have a little bit off-white, something soft for the eyes. And, you know, when you're having the breakthrough of your life and you're crying your eyes out about, you know, your mother or whatever happens to you, then, you know, you need something that has some care that serves you as best as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a big believer that we're all one. So I could be in your position, you know, doing that in that space. And I would like to have a box, you know, that there's some thought put into it that really serves you and really helps you on your way. But I do understand the people who are having hesitations, because I would also have had hesitations if a business, you know, would take my baby, Psychedelics, and put it in some kind of package. So I understand it. also because the business world is not, what people learn on psychedelics, right? The business world tends to be quite hostile or feeding on, trying to do tricks so that people buy it more, or phrase it in a certain way. And definitely, especially in the last couple of weeks, we quit our advertising, which is probably going to bite us in the butt for a while. But we want to have sincerity as one of the cornerstones,
which is definitely a challenge. Just like combining marketing, just like really not trying, because this would also be like you don't want to manipulate anyone just like buying this product, and that's like, like the nature of marketing is sort of manipulation.
Predatory.
You're just like, do this and this and just have a discount here and blah blah blah. But really just putting ourselves out there and just like presenting us in like the most honest way. And it's definitely there's not so many guidelines on how to do this like conscious way of like growth without trying to trick anyone and in purchasing and especially with and
we're not gurus in any way either, right? So we don't have all the answers. The input from the products and the information that we use definitely comes from thousands of people as well, right, through our surveys, through our Discord. So it's a co-creative effort. The second thing after sincerity is definitely co-creation, right? It's a co-creative effort across psychonauts from all around the world. What makes this so unique, right?
Yeah, this kind of fine line or balancing act actually goes back for me to the earlier point of being able to root down really confidently in just what you're doing, because you can look at this in a kind of negative example where it's actually kind of strange or off-putting if someone has an offering, has a gift, has a product, and they're actually not confident in it. They're not saying this is awesome, that they've actually put a significant amount into it. It is kind of weird when they're like, I kind of made something, you might like it. It's actually a little weird to receive that. But yes, there is this balance that then comes where, what is the line of being extremely confident in what you're doing, knowing that it has value, knowing that it can be significant for people, but not using that to manufacture demand, which I think is where a lot of people get really, I think is where you start pushing up against that line when it's, well, are you manipulating me right now? Or are you being confident because it's helped you? It's a super sensitive line. And it's actually, if I'm being completely honest, part of the reason I reached out to Koen originally to do this conversation, because we had also dropped, we used to run ads on the blog side of High Existence, and we just viewed it as totally toxic to the attention and the sacredness of people. And it was like, okay, well, yeah, we make money from this, but goddamn, like my values are fucking more important than this. And so I had a huge amount of respect for actually doing that. And yeah, it's an ongoing balancing act. And I think you only get your balance by practicing, right? It's like, what is the best decision I can make right now? Can I do this in good faith while actually still being able to root down and be like, actually, I think this is a great service. I think this is something really well done.
Yeah. Well, and we learn by doing, right? We're not holy saints. We're not perfect in any way. We wanted to reach the world, and obviously this is very difficult to spread. We've been banned constantly everywhere. We put the word out, and even by communities that are about DMT, and they're like, "What are you trying to sell?"
Yeah.
And you really have to convince them. But our ads were actually the response on that. You should see the comments. There are like 1,000 comments of people like, finally, the algorithms have found something that is really, and they post all these memes about Terrence McKenna and Joe Rogan, and they're like, all right, this is finally so awesome. But there's like, out of every 100, there's like 1 or 2 people who are really like, if your intention is to sell something, very spiritual to me, I don't like what you're doing, and I'm not going to be your customer. And then we usually engage in a conversation, and they, turn around 180 and they give tips. Okay, what I would do is do this and this. And one of the, a few actually of these comments led up to us, ditching our, some of these advertising practices. We don't want to be predatory in any way. It's everybody's choice to commit to something like this, and we don't want to, do it in the old fashion of the shouty fashion. Like, all right, now fast, it's gonna run out. That sort of stuff is not truthful.
Definitely also curious about the high existence approach to this now, or like how you guys are dealing with this matter.
Yeah, because you're in a similar space to us as well, right? I've been reading high existence, I think, for over a decade. I think around a decade now, if that's possible. And it's. I was actually in the beginning also surprised, like, oh wow, there's finally people talking in a similar way, right? And promoting this stuff is not easy.
No, not at all. Not at all. Particularly when this got started. Like, High Existence did just turn 11 this year, so it is possible you've been around for a decade. It's also a very beautiful. We spoke about that earlier. It's a very beautiful full circle moment to have a member of the community being presented to the community doing something beautiful. So the way that we approach it now is, like, again, given that High Existence has been running for such an amount of time, we're fortunate enough to have an email list, fortunate enough to have an existing audience, and our approach has just been in good faith convey what we're doing while still trying to balance that line of, like, well, actually what we think because we've started doing more, we've started doing retreats, and we've also started doing kind of online mastermind programs, like 2-month, much deeper dives, still trying to balance that line of, no, I actually stand by what I'm doing. Like, I think this can be extremely beneficial for people because it's been extremely beneficial for me. I'm no one special, but, and I see this in you guys too. Like, if you deliver a really high quality product, like, I don't think it's not unreasonable to say, look, if you actually got a lot out of this, we run through you. Like, if you can share this, if you could, if you know anyone who might be interested, like, it helps us a lot. And so, just open, honest communication and asking for support. You guys do already have a beautiful community, and they will. This is the classic Kevin Kelly 1,000 true fans, right? If you have people who really support what you're doing, you can always make it work. Without needing to rely on some of the gimmicks, some of the tricks, some of the manufacturing of desire. Yeah,
I agree, and everybody can join a community too. But we're not faking. Like, we're not an NGO, and the thing with psychedelics is that people expect you not to make money for some reason. It's okay if you sell a bong. But if you sell a box, then for some people, it's a different thing. They don't realize. And we are pretty straightforward with the fact, like, okay, if we can make a living out of raising the standards for psychedelic use, that would
be excellent.
Would be the most epic thing I can dream of. We are obviously not there. But this is, how much more impact we can make. The more impact we can make with this, the better. And we have contemplated also, not being in a business space, doing this in a completely different way, which would probably make it a short project.
Then you have to focus all your other it would be just great to have your mind only on this, if you have to work on other projects, which and on some certain extent also have some unconscious aspects to it, or you do something that's also not entirely pure. So why not be the purest you can with this project? And
and then you kind of have to mix in with business things, such as opening a web store, and but we choose to focus on the product and not on the numbers. So where a lot of businesses, it's the return on ad spend, return on investment, and all those, like they have this dashboard in front of them with all these numbers. For us, it's mostly talking to people. We love to build a product that we believe in and we find truly amazing because we love psychedelics. And for the rest, it's really also about the community, touch it, like really, we do Zoom calls with like a lot of people constantly because we love talking about psychedelics, right? For us, it's about the psychedelics and getting that into the public eye in a more safe, respectful, and high quality way.
Yeah, and the kind of friction that you're pointing to, like pushback from the community, the nuances of, well, I want to dedicate my time to this and my life costs a certain level of money. Like there's an actual relationship there where if I want to dive fully into this, I need to be able to get food. I need to be able to go to sleep somewhere. And this friction is the exact reason I think, you guys were one of the first doing this in the space. Like that friction is the barrier that actually stops a lot of people from moving forward because it's difficult. And particularly in this space, it can feel kind of lonely. I've been on a few conversations like this recently, and the metaphor I've been using is like carving through really dense jungle with a machete, where it's like, yo, if you are at the front of that line with the machete, it's hard work, but everyone behind you now gets to walk on like a gravel road because of it. And there is this beauty and this courage, I think, to being the one that's like, look, I'm going to do this half the time because I just can't do otherwise. Like my soul is calling me towards this. This is exactly where I need to be. And like it's challenging and it's confronting, but I mean, yeah, I think it's a super important point. Like the fact that there are not more, I think we should have hundreds of these projects. Like if people actually believe deeply in the profound value of these experiences, like why are we not trying to craft and tweak the dials of the most exceptional experiences possible? Because there is friction. It takes some boldness, it takes some craziness to go and be at the front, but my God, it's beautiful, and B, it's important.
Yeah, it's very important. And of course, the reason why people don't dive into this space is because it's highly illegal in many places.
Yes.
Right? And if people, our box, a lot of people who also use their box use it for 5-MeO. And when they are on 5-MeO and they, something goes wrong, they could definitely also see our box as giving the wrong guidelines, or it's the fault of the equipment or something. So it's definitely a very tricky space, and we're well aware of that. We're doing something that it carries with it some risk of going into this new territory, like you say, cutting down the leaves, and there could be a threat somewhere we're not aware of yet.
I would love to have a little sneak preview into 50 years ahead, the future, see what life is like, how well psychedelics are integrated, and
and
it's like thinking back, it's like, wow, look back then, it was like nothing.
Yeah, and now
it's like, wow,
it's
like
the
such
internet,
a part of ordinary life.
Yes.
Yeah, this is again hand in hand with the friction, and in kind of stepping up into service more comes responsibility, which is another reason I think it's something that a lot of us build up to. I think it's actually one of the things that intense or profound psychedelic experiences can help cultivate in yourself, of taking on more and more responsibility, taking on responsibility for your life, for your healing, for how you're showing up in the world. And because you don't get the beauty and freedom of projects like this without the associated responsibility, or at least the felt sense of responsibility that comes from doing it justice. And it's not easy. There was something funny enough, for any of our audience who has listened to a few of my previous podcasts or read some of my articles on the site knows that I've actually been exploring my own tea practice, an actual tea ceremony practice. And so the fact that the messaging on your site was also related to tea ceremonies, and you mentioned earlier about bringing that level of ritual and sacredness to it, it landed extremely beautifully for me. But I'm curious if there's anything outside of your own personal psychedelic experiences that you've like any rituals, any practices that you guys really appreciate or get a lot of benefit from.
meditation for sure, number one. I would say meditation really has like really big impact on my life. I feel just being fine with whatever is like really starting to realize the shit show that's constantly going on in your brain, and like becoming comfortable with it and just like appreciating it, just like not being caught up in it. Like, so this is definitely like the number one tool for me that I really appreciate, and it also helps me a lot with my psychedelic journeys, like this sort of acceptance and like surrendering to reality in every stage, you know. Is like a positive or like a negative situation. Like, this is really, I feel like, the number one tool. Other than that, like physical exercise for sure, like really exhausts my body, and like feeling also the negative emotions, and just like for like doing a long run or like going bouldering, and just like feeling like your physical pain, and like them being fine with it, and accepting this is also something that really helps me into preparation of psychedelic trips, going to the cold water. We are both Wim Hof fan. He lives just around the corner here. We met him a couple of times, so like the breath work is also definitely a big part of our rituals, practices.
Cold showers is definitely a big thing.
Ice baths in the winter. And for sure nutrition, like healthy.
Yeah, we give these tips also in this portal book writing, because we definitely believe, psychedelics can leapfrog you if you have this, an honest, intentful mindset. You have done the work into the shadow aspects of yourself, and you believe that you're ready for, a very true path towards growth, and you set the right goals. Then psychedelics can definitely help speed up that process, but it goes hand in hand with practices like meditation, and with in our opinion, with healthy diet, exercise. It's all about living life as vibrantly as possible, being mostly alive, and vitality. And psychedelics definitely make you, when done in a respectful and proper way, it can make you feel more alive and experience what life really has to offer, and reach your, fullest potential. But it goes hand in hand with taking care of yourself when you are in your integration period between sessions.
Yeah. Creating like a clean machine, like really clearing your machine, so it can facilitate these extraordinary experiences.
Yeah, it really is that. It's really like your mind is this computer, and you let the dust settle in a little bit
exactly.
in between the processors. That machine has got to run optimally to receive these psychedelic sessions. So how do you do that? And how do you get rid of all these, the noise that's in there? So that's
definitely going into nature a lot.
Absolutely,
really
nature
like
is
taking. I mean, it's not so much nature element, but like the beach is definitely a place where you can go and just having the phone off for like one entire day in the week at least, trying to like recharge and like reset the system a bit.
But we can really align with the tea ceremony thing, and we're thinking about the community has definitely reacted that they want to have a mushroom ceremony box with a tea set. So that's something we're looking into. We're looking into some other projects as well. But we really feel like, there should be something that creates the ultimate set and setting that could be taken anywhere. So it's usually inside your house, because that's the safest setting that you can do it in, usually. And then it also, gives you tips on how you can go into your integration period as optimally as possible. But as far as rituals goes, that's actually up to everybody. This box and the experience is very customizable. You can create your own rituals. We don't necessarily, focus on a very shamanic approach or a very scientific approach. We try to take a middle ground here and just focus on, vitality, health, mental fitness, goal setting, meditation, and things that have definitely been proven to be very good for you. And using the box as a reminder, like, all right, calm down, take a moment to reflect, and afterwards move forward in the greatest way possible.
Yeah, and also enjoy the fruits of like your development, just like life in general becomes more pleasant, and like Yeah, just
be
taking
alive.
time, exactly, being alive and just enjoying life, like appreciating the little things.
Yeah.
Yeah, a huge amount of respect that unprompted you guys brought up the significance of integration. Sometimes I feel a little frustrated that integration is actually not discussed very much nowadays. Like it's coming more and more because it does go hand in hand with the experience, but I still see, and maybe because the space is still just growing itself, but there's still, let me say this differently. I feel like integration deserves as much attention as the experiences, because they become this like DNA double helix. You have your experience, you integrate what was necessary, and yeah, I think you spoke on the ultimate potential of using these experiences intentionally, is that if you actually do the homework that was asked of you, you are then ready for like the next level, the next test. And it's only when the medicine or the experience actually recognizes that you've done your homework that it's like, okay, I can give you the next lesson now. And you can just, it's almost up to you how quickly you want to try to climb that ladder. Because if you really start taking the integration and doing it justice, you can move really quickly. And again, more and more gets asked of you as you clean yourself out more. And that's where the responsibility thing comes back. Because I think a lot of us, you spoke a little bit to processing your shadow. There's also like Jung also had this term of the golden shadow, where you actually reject some of the better parts of yourself. Things like taking responsibility, things like showing up for others beyond yourselves. And actually, I think a lot of us can actually have a resistance to that, where it's like, I don't know if I'm ready, I don't know if I can do this. So yeah, the higher up you go, the more it gets asked of you. And it is this continual process of just becoming fit for service, just greater and greater service. And it's but my God, it is a very beautiful process. It is a very, very powerful experience.
Alan Watts, he said psychedelic drugs are simply instruments like microscopes, telescopes, telephones, and the biologist does not sit with the eye permanently glued to the microscope, right? He goes away and works on what he has seen. So, like I mentioned in the very beginning, we create a product, but it's not about that. We facilitate the process before and what goes after. So yeah, it's the preparation, the facilitating of the actual moment, and the integration. Because integration is actually just normal life.
Yeah,
That is
it's 90%. I feel like 10 to 5%. Like the psychedelics sometimes do some work by themselves as well, just by like the bliss of the experience and like the change in like they do some sudden changes that you don't have to do anything for. But I feel like 90% of like the effects really come with like, okay, I come back, I learned this, and now I'm really actually going to act on this and try to remember what I experienced and what I learned.
Yeah, and like you say, sometimes during a ceremony, you can definitely, many people in our community experience on DMT, the entities working on their brains, setting things correctly, and then they go away, like, all right, they fixed me. Okay, thanks, doctor. I'm away now. But usually it doesn't work that way. Usually you have to really, do the hard work afterwards.
Yeah. I'm curious, what was like the most beneficial substance for you for your psychedelic healing journey, or is there one that stands out, like where you think like, okay, this is my sacred medicine?
The two come to mind immediately because they're so apparent, and they've actually it's been almost a growth process. So the first one, by and large, was working with ayahuasca down in the Amazon and down on the retreats that we've been orchestrating. Sitting, I think there's something to the extended period of time that you have to sit with yourself in at times large levels of discomfort. That was an extremely good teacher for me. Even the act of purging that so often comes up in ayahuasca has actually the way that lands for me is always significant, of actually letting go of smallness, letting go of rejecting responsibility, and just leaving that out there has really, really accelerated my process. And then to what we were just pointing to, I've taken on almost this challenge of like, okay, what can I do between experiences to actually be ready for new lessons, new levels? And that back and forth conversation between experience and integration has been rapidly accelerating for me. Actually, this came up a lot this year. Most of my experiences have been this year. I had one in December of last year. My first experience with Bufo, 5-MeO, felt like Jesus, like the next step on the staircase at that point. The guy I was just working with had, I think, a brilliant way of saying this. He was like, because he only works with ayahuasca and Bufo. And the way he said it was, ayahuasca shows you that you are a man who can become a god, and Bufo shows you that you are a god that can become a man. And there was such a beautiful, like, yeah, this is actually also why it was such an immediate, I resonated so deeply with the work that you guys are doing, because after working with Bufo, I was like, this is my teacher right now. Like, there's a lot of learning I've been doing. Because ayahuasca still has that feeling, and it's been very significant of developing the individual, right? Of actually developing yourself and being able to grow and see just actually what you're capable of doing. Bufo seems to be the complementary other half of like, now it's just time to get rid of the individual. Like, you need to see what's possible beyond the small self. And yeah, so both of those have been extremely significant experiences and teachers for me lately, in that order, because I started with ayahuasca first, but Bufo is very heavily on my radar right now. Also because it seems, I was joking with one of my friends that it seems like it just popped into existence when Earth was at a critical time that it needed it, because there's like very sparse information about it. It doesn't seem like many indigenous cultures had a history with this. Like, it seems to have just come up when humanity was at a critical inflection point, just out of nowhere. And so I'm extremely just interested and focused on that right now.
Yeah, that's incredible. There you have it, world. 5-MeO DMT.
Yes.
Bufo.
Yeah, it really came out of nowhere. There's no real shamanic, rituals.
I mean, at least none that you really like. Might as well been that it just wasn't like found that.
Yeah.
It's been worked with it, but yeah.
Yeah, but really everybody takes it, their own approach to their 5-MeO ceremonies.
It's really.
It's a careful with the toad.
Yeah,
that's what we say.
It's about the canvas. Like all the other psychedelics are like about what you said before, like the individual healing, the individual journey, and then 5-MeO is just like okay, but what's the canvas we all playing on? What's the playground? What's like the substance? Like
5-MeO just obliterates you.
And it's two beautiful journeys. Like the one journey of like really just healing yourself and like becoming the best version of opening up emotionally, just becoming a loving human being. And then the other was just like, okay, but what the fuck is reality? Like, what the fuck is this whole thing actually? Like, where is this happening? Like, what are we actually made of? Like, what is love? Like,
that one is difficult to integrate, though.
Yeah.
Well, because it's so out of this world. There's no, for some psychedelics, there's words that kind of mimic the experience, right? Especially with DMT, because the commonalities are, so apparent. But with 5-MeO DMT, we lack the words. We can say it's God, or it's purity, or it's death. But the experience, it doesn't nowhere justice to what it actually is. It's so, outside of this ordinary life.
Yeah, right? It might be hard integrating, but it's also so beautiful just going to a place like this and then coming
Absolutely.
back and realizing like, okay, that's all just a game, you know, like all we do is, it's not so important. Like there's something way bigger than this behind it. Like for me at least, giving like some sort of, add some relaxation to life and some sense of like, yeah, don't worry. It's all good behind the great beyond.
It's been the most, at least thus far, the best way for me to actually give just a deep, sacred yes to all of life. Because almost every time I come back, I'm just hit with this feeling of, well, it's actually beautiful to be an individual. It's actually a gift. It's not a jail sentence. It's not a prison cell. You know, even the language we have around so much of this, like, yeah, I'm just in a meat sack flying around. It's like, actually being able to just localize a single experience is really beautiful. And it's a gift because it's a lot to hold everything else. And actually just being responsible for stewarding my own experience is a big gift. And man, it's an important reminder. At least it was an important reminder for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. That's also something that Psychedelic had taught me. Like I always thought like, I want to go down this road of like spiritual enlightenment, losing the ego. But like also it's great to have an ego, you know, it's great to have like this sense of like identification with this thing, you know, like it's not a bad thing.
No, it was funny to see you come back, and then you said the ego was coming back part by part. You're like, oh shit, my ego. You know, it's definitely like layers of skin come flying back or something.
Yes.
Right. Well, it can be interesting to see it for what it is, and yeah, I agree. Not be completely against it, but you know, seeing it as a tool.
It's fun to play this character for sure.
Yeah, this is actually what the term you pointed to earlier, like the spiritual fitness. It's like the ego is actually a wonderful thing. It just can get out of control. It's like having your dog on a leash, or like almost like kung fu, like a cultivated skill. Like you just get better at working with what you have and actually becoming more adept at it. But yeah, we often, I can see why people vilify it, but goddamn, there is a level of gift to being an individual.
Yeah, and it's difficult.
Awesome.
It's also a trap to fall into a new spiritual ego. Let's say that, you know, it's
huge.
Yeah, for sure.
And
I'm so much more enlightened than you are. You are not conscious enough.
Yes, buy my course online.
I'm so much more of a spiritual being than you are.
And sometimes the most spiritual thing to do can to stay off psychedelics entirely.
Yeah.
That's not said enough in the community either. Like, you know, sometimes it's best to just don't use psychedelics. Just stay off them for like a moment of a couple of months, maybe a year, maybe never.
Yeah, time and place.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So is there anything, I'm conscious of time for you guys, like is there this can be both related to the work that you guys are doing or just in general, is there anything you're really excited about, anything you've got your eyes on, anything you're paying attention to either in this space or in other spaces?
I mean, in the psychedelic space for sure, like the world opening up to psychedelics in general. Like we're always so excited when we hear about like new legislations and like countries like decriminalizing psychedelics, and this is also why we're doing this work to really like push this movement. And like whenever we hear that there's things moving, this makes us really excited.
Yeah, and you know, the science is definitely, you know, a fundamental field for us. It's the foundation of, you know, how we can move forward. It's quite slow though. It's a very slow process, you know, the data coming in, the studies take years, and usually, you know, a lot of psychonauts will be like, yeah, I knew that. Yeah. And it's very medically focused. And there are a bunch of studies. You know, we spoke with John Chavez from DMT Quest, and he has this cool documentary out. It's for free. And he spoke with Aubrey Marcus on his podcast. And, you know, he's focused on more, you know, studies on endogenous DMT, so DMT that's in your body, 5-MeO DMT that's in your body. What's the function of this, right? So recently we found out that DMT is in big amounts is available in your spinal cord, in your spinal fluid, right? It's made in the lungs. It's not just made in your pineal gland. They actually did studies on human brains where they show how prevalent it is, and that the function of DMT we know nothing about, but it's in our body. It's there in huge amounts constantly, and it's not just when we die and we are born and when we sleep. We literally know nothing about it, but it's there. We know a lot about dopamine, we know a lot about serotonin, and I don't know the exact amounts, but he said something like a quarter of the amounts of dopamine we have DMT running through our bodies. Well, what is it for? What does it do? We have no idea. And if you have people with DMT that they vaporize, they get these incredible experiences, of which most are experienced by a vast multitude of people. So they see the same things. We can talk about entities that engage with, and you can it's almost like you're like a video game. You're into like, all right, I went to that place. Oh, okay, I went to that place too. Right, the studies that are going on in this field are way slow. They're super slow, but what is coming out in this field will definitely be huge.
I feel like there's really limitless potential.
Exactly.
At some point even like possible to like really deciding, okay, I'm gonna go there and there, exactly. It's like really having some sort of training that trains you in how to like go to certain places using psychedelic, or how you're
it's magic. And I said this last time with John, 100 years ago, when you would say that we would be on a podcast, it's complete magic. You're on the other side of the world through a screen. They would not, they would say you would be crazy, but the things we're gonna do, not just with the internet and with current technologies, but with this new natural technology, technology in nature that has been here for thousands of years or longer, that's going to be completely changing our reality.
So exciting.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. Man, yeah, it does feel like the way it lands for me is it feels like you're sitting at the base of like an exponential curve, and you're kind of just looking up and being like, oh, we're about to go places. Get ready, buckle up. Yeah. Well, this was really beautiful. If people like this, could you give a shout out to where they can find more about you guys, where they can find out about what you're doing?
Yes. So they can find us on portiersupplies.com. That's PORTIER supplies.com. And sign up for the newsletter for now. We're doing pre-orders of the box. Right now, for a month or so, we have a discount running. You can use the code Visionary. And when you order a box for the next couple of orders, we're also going to throw in something extra, some special Easter egg. Be sure to do that.
Joining our Discord.
Yeah, join our Discord for sure. It's Portier Supplies. We have a podcast called Portier Psychedelic Podcast. But definitely check out our website, portiersupplies.com.
Yeah, and then also just like send an email
or talk to us.
Yeah.
We hop on Zoom calls with you. We'll talk about psychedelics just like we're doing now.
Yes.
This is the most interesting thing there can be.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's absolutely beautiful, and I can attest that the Discord is bumping already. I've been really impressed with the community that's been coming together for this, and again, I think you guys are doing some absolutely beautiful work. I'm really glad I was able to share this with people. So, man, thank you. I can't wait to see where this goes.
Same.
Yes.
Same.
Nice. Beautiful.
Future will be amazing.
Yeah.
All right.
Future is bright.
Hello again. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's honestly an honor to have you here with us. It means a significant amount. And I hope you really enjoyed the talk here. If you know anyone that this might be a good fit for, anyone who has been seriously practicing their own intentional psychedelic use for personal growth and development and exploration, consider sharing it with them. I think these guys are doing something really important and really significant here, and spreading the word to communities of like-minded people is the easiest way to help. So let's help legitimize, help normalize these practices, experiences, and products. And until next time, I'm sending you lots of love. You are very beautiful, and we will talk more again soon.